Hi, Karl. Welcome.
Hi there.
Good stuff. Great to have you on board. It's our second West Coast employee because we had Alex as the first kickoff, one of our most popular ones. So you've got some competition now.
It's
And,
difficult to follow Alex Tatum, that's for sure.
that's right, a very charismatic man. And I've had my lockdown haircut, so it's Fourth of July. I was straight in there to get my hair cut. So we're both looking quite trim today, Karl, aren't we? So.
Yeah, very easy for me, mate. Just the number one on the old shares.
Fantastic, great stuff. So this is another episode of our Leaders series. Karl from West Coast is with us today. He's the group CIO. And just to introduce what GCS is and what GCS Connect is all about. GCS is a technology recruitment business. We work in mostly Europe and USA, connecting expert talent to innovative companies. GCS Connect is our brand of content, staffing solutions, and kind of recruitment interviews, which is really helping to kind of create that network which our customers and our candidates can use. It's great to have Karl on board today. It's good to have you. We've been speaking about this over the last few weeks, mostly while I've been going backwards and forwards from the garage, getting my car MOT'd, which you've been watching with interest, I know, Karl. Karl is the CIO, as I said, of West Coast. West Coast is the UK's largest independently owned company, private firm. They are very much involved in IT equipment and commercial kind of telecoms equipment, which they sell through channels and direct to retailers. Big business based in Reading, so they're kind of they started around the same time as us, and they're always quite an aspirational business for us as a Thames Valley business. Karl is the group CIO. There are a number of different firms within the West Coast business. And they work in very similar sorts of kind of areas, but Karl deals with the strategy, making sure that the infrastructure works correctly for all the kind of group companies. And he's also involved in the cybersecurity and keeping the business safe, as he just told me. So we'll be going into that in a bit more detail because obviously it's very important around this time. Karl, obviously that's my kind of introduction to yourself. I'm sure you can kind of do better yourself. So tell us a bit about yourself. Tell us what kind of your background and
Sure.
how you come to be here.
Sure. Karl Harris, Group CIO for West Coast. I'm responsible for all things keeping the business operational from an IT perspective. That's from the service desk to the enterprise applications, the business applications, to keeping the business safe and everything in between. There are lots of different types of businesses within West Coast, all broadly similar. But all that kind of falls under my remit. We've also got businesses in Europe, some logistics facilities there. So it's quite a broad-ranging set of responsibilities that I have. But believe me, it's my team that make me look good. So
Fantastic, yeah, and I think a lot of the people we've spoken to obviously kind of talk about that team. And during this period, have you had most of your team kind of working for you, or has everyone been busy working, or did you furlough people? Or
we did have to furlough some people, but fortunately for us, it's not been too bad. We've still been able to deliver on our IT operating model.
Sure.
And still deliver on some of the more strategic aspects of IT that we've been trying to deliver. So nothing really stopped. It slowed a lot. Like most businesses, you're trying to assess what the whole impact of COVID meant before sort of plowing ahead with what you were doing. So I would say we slowed down, but we didn't stop. Just being very prudent, just being very sensible.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the way now we're hopefully towards the end of the kind of first phase, at least. It's about kind of taking stock and seeing where you are. Did you have a big 2020 plan then? I mean, obviously West Coast had a great year, so did you have lots of plans happening? Yeah,
we did. I mean, one of the biggest things we had planned was a refresh of our data center strategy. Having a look at that, and also, there's some strategic applications that need reviewing, and something needs doing about them. I can't say much more than that, but those kind of things was kind of slowed down and put on pause. But where are we now? We're beginning of July. Yeah, we're sort of looking at those strategic projects again. But you know, it's almost day by day.
Yeah. No, I see that, and I think it's whatever sort of business that you're in, and we've spoken to about kind of 15 people, 15 leaders now, and most people have had to kind of concentrate on what's important now, and put their plans for future on hold, while at the same time still thinking about that, because it's how you come out of this, isn't it? That's key.
It is, and you know, West Coast is quite a very fast-moving, dynamic, agile organization, and you know, our response to the current crisis hasn't been much different to that. You know, we still got great people within the organization that we you know, we rely on. And it was no different. We all kind of pulled together, did what was necessary, adapted, and changed, and did what we need to do. So, yeah, and those qualities that make West Coast so good, I think, really helped us sort of ongoingly, actively manage this this current situation.
Yeah, and you obviously, you know, when lockdown happened, you would be the guy that everyone would say, right, okay, can you make it go remote now? So. Were you guys prepared for that, or was that a big kind of step change? Right, we've got to do this in the next kind of couple of weeks.
So interestingly enough, you know, when I took the job about 4 years ago, and I sort of made sure all my pillars were in good working order. One of them was keeping the business safe, and keeping the business safe means preparing for such an eventuality.
All right. Okay.
And you know, we had, you know, we spent a lot of time and effort making those systems and processes robust, so that if we lost an office or a logistics facility or a network connectivity in a European location, we would be robust enough to carry on. But like everybody else, you know, who expects the perfect storm of the entire country, you know, in fact, the entire world being locked down simultaneously at the same time. It's the ultimate DR nightmare scenario.
Yeah, for sure.
But you know,
IT teams have done pretty well, though. I mean, I as a user talking to other users, I think the IT teams have come through pretty well, Karl. You know?
Yeah, I think so. And that's because, you know, the slow adoption, well, the adoption of Teams and Office 365 and those sort of collaboration technologies have really sort of helped IT teams being really robust and agile. But you know, we saw it coming, and I think the only thing different we did was we allocated a few more CPU and memory to our remote worker platforms. That was it. But we were able to you know, just carry on working. Everybody was at home. It was business as usual for us. There wasn't
it's
really
very interesting, isn't it, that, you know, this huge change has been driven very quickly and very kind of seamlessly, really. And probably if I'd said to you start of 2020, okay, Karl, everyone's going to be working in West Coast from home, you'd be like, no, it's never going to happen. But now that's kind of how it is, isn't it? So
yeah, I mean, as I said, you know, everything was there, all the planning, all the investment. You know, I take DR and keeping the business safe very seriously. You know, as I said, we just needed to beef up our platforms, but everybody knew how to log in from home. You know, we did some remedial work on the sort of instructions how to do it, but it was brilliant.
That's good.
We were
quite happy to hear. And as you kind of lead supply chains and logistics, obviously, and you're almost like the core player, the hub in all of that. Yeah. If you mess it up, it messes up the whole supply chain, doesn't it? Really. So and then that messes up your kind of customer base. And as Alex explained to us, you kind of work quite low. Like margins are important. So it's important not to get it wrong, isn't it?
It is. And you know, we were quite lucky. You know, we kept the warehouse open. You know, we had some serious volume go through our logistics facilities during COVID, because we were a key business. So we had to remain open, and the demand for at work, work at home equipment just went absolutely through the roof. The first couple of weeks it was laptops, then it was monitors, then it was all the peripherals, and then printers. And
At least you guys have got that.
Well,
You've got that in your warehouses, Karl.
I tell you what, unlike some businesses that had to, go out to market and try and find this stuff, we were quite fortunate that we were able to sort of just put our hands on this kit straight away. So
that's what I always say whenever we need to hire a developer or a support person for our own business. I'm like, well, at least that's something we can do. We know where to find those people for ourselves.
Exactly.
I wanted to talk a little bit about yourself, and as I said, you've got 20 years industry experience within logistics, and delivery of product. You've been the CIO for 4 years, but I think you talked to me a little bit about how you've obviously moved through areas like marketing, et cetera, and come from a business studies background. So do you want to just take me through a little bit about how you come to be here and, your journey towards being a CIO?
Well, I think it's about, as I've built my career over the years, it's all about delivery, doing what you say you can do, to the right people who expect you to do it. And if you do that, you've got a good chance of progressing. I joined Westcoast as head of the PMO. So Westcoast at the time didn't really have a mature project delivery function. And they tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Karl, can you come and be a project manager?" And I said no. What you need is a project office, and I'll set it up for you, and I'll bring that along in terms of its maturity and getting that up to be the right function. And then my boss at the time, he went somewhere else within Westcoast.
Yeah.
And again, I think because I had a reputation of delivery and knowing what I'm talking about. I essentially said, right, I can do that. Give me a chance, give me a shot at that. And then we guess, okay, no problem. And so here I am, 4 years into the job, board member. So yeah, it's good.
That's great. And so therefore, for people kind of looking at yourself who maybe haven't come through the strict kind of IT background, would you say part of it was being in the right place at the right time and asking the right questions at the right time?
A lot of that, yeah. But I actually think I've always served as the bridge, I think, between the business and the sort of technical aspects of IT.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So when I talk to people within Westcoast, I don't talk too deep at a technical level.
Yeah.
I try and translate what we do, and that's actually quite difficult to do. So within senior leadership meetings, trying to translate the vast program of works that IT have going into how it helps the business and why you need to invest some more in a particular area that we're doing is probably the most difficult. It's probably the most difficult aspect of the job.
Yeah.
And I think I don't always get that right, but I'm getting better.
Yeah, that's right. It's about creating, I think someone's called it kind of burning platform, isn't it? Like we need to do this in order to help the business go forward, as opposed to it's going to cost this amount of money. Shall we spend this amount of money, isn't it? It's making IT into an investment, isn't it?
Right. And I don't think you need an IT background necessarily to be able to do that. You gotta be good with people, connect with people, deliver what you say you're going to deliver. I've said it before, but it is a bit of a cliche, but I really couldn't do what I do without my team. They are amazing. I think they've got the best. I think we've got the best team. Everybody will say this, but I think we've got one of the best teams in the business. What we do with what we have amazes me. It really does.
No, that's really good. Yeah. I mean, what do you think then therefore makes up a good team? Because you said most people say it. Some people have said it. Not all people have said it. So obviously you've made a key point of that as a leader. Yeah. What do you think therefore makes up a good team and a team you can be proud of?
Well, I think it's about getting the right mix of technical capability and fit for the organization. And
Sure.
I think I'm broadly good at that.
Yeah.
You know, this is not this is, you know, West Coast is a great place to work, but it's not for everyone.
Mm.
You know, and so you've got to have a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit about you,
Yeah.
an energy about you, and you know, that a resilience about you. And it's not for everyone.
Mm.
So I think finding the right person that fits your organization, and this is
Yeah.
where companies like yourself come in, because you've been working with West Coast for such a long time. You know how we are as a culture,
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
and
Yeah.
what we do. You're able to help us find those kinds of people. But yeah, and trust. Trust what people are telling you, and you believe them and hope that they can deliver as well. So yeah,
Mm.
it's, I think, a large part of my job is making sure we have the right people, and that they're helping me do my job.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, you know, if you're saying how proud you are of the team and how much they're achieving, you're obviously kind of doing a good job there. And then for yourself, obviously, you work from home. How has that been? Is that something you were used to from before? Or are you quite used to being kind of in the office? What's it like, positive and negative?
Yeah, I'm currently about 3 days to 3 days in the office.
Yeah,
Those 2 days that I'm not here, I really sort of really starting to appreciate, because the commute, I have quite a long commute. I have a 100-mile
yeah,
round trip. Um, so yeah, it's the right balance. I don't get to visit the other offices like I used to in my
yeah.
working week. Um, but it's fine. It's fine. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
No issue there.
I think the crossover between it kind of coming back to being all in the office is quite an interesting one, isn't it? And
Yeah.
dynamics and, you know, people, but I'm assuming systems as well, because obviously we're also used to video calls, and now are we going to keep doing the video calls in the office, or
Yeah.
and that's one thing we're not struggling with, but discussing at the moment.
Well, the video calling thing is a challenge for me. It really is.
Mm.
And I've started to turn my camera off
Yeah,
for multiple video calls. So when you're in a normal meeting, you're not staring at the person talking,
yeah,
right?
that's right, yeah, yeah.
The dynamic is very different. And
We
if you're
usually
on
think
a
where the coffee shop is, the coffee machine
right,
is.
right. And when you're on Zoom, you imagine you got 12 faces just staring intently at the camera.
Yeah, I know, yeah,
And you
yeah,
feel you have to now stare intently back,
that's right.
in order people don't think you're disinterested. I find it
One of
absolutely.
the conversations we had earlier with a guy called David, who does a lot of kind of change management at Sky, was talking about reading the room and how different it is to read the room on a Zoom call compared to a stand-up meeting or a kind of boardroom meeting, isn't it?
Completely. I find it exhausting after an hour having all those eyeballs,
Yeah, that's
on me.
right.
So that's I think a negative. I don't think working from home is in the press you hear all these people about they're never going to rent office space anymore. It's all going to be working from home.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be a real challenge. I get why they say that, but imagine as you cycle through this and you're a year ahead, and you're interviewing people, and you're
yeah.
hiring via Zoom, and they never get to meet their colleagues. I think
No,
that's going to be a challenge.
I definitely think culture and training are the two things that will be difficult to build in a remote workplace, and that's obviously why we have these things like the Leader Series, because some people might get it right. Some people might say, well, this is how you do it, and obviously most people are doing the standard 3 Zooms a day and checking in with your guys and doing one-to-ones, but there are certain elements, particularly of onboarding new people, that have an element of working with someone who knows what they're doing, and picking that up and building that team culture. So.
Yeah, definitely.
And so for the business itself, I've got a couple of kind of questions that are specific to West Coast, but for your strategy kind of going forward as a business, has it changed in any way kind of post-COVID now as you look forward? Do you think we'll be doing things slightly differently? Are your customers thinking about different types of product or services?
I haven't really seen much of that come through yet. I mean, I still think some businesses are, didn't get the quiet working from home piece right. So I think there's some remedial purchasing being, happening around, collaboration and laptops and what have you. But broadly, not yet really.
Yep.
I think what we are starting to see, though, encouragingly, are business sort of end user businesses unlocking some of their strategic IT, programs,
Yep.
moving to the cloud or refreshes that they need to do. So, and that's kind of working its way up the distribution chain to us, which
Yeah.
do the logistics. So that's good. So where we've seen, some businesses, completely put everything on pause, we're seeing that unlock a bit now. So that's very encouraging.
Yeah, no, I think we've seen that as well in terms of hiring, both with solutions companies and with end users as well. It does seem that people are starting to kind of react to what's happened and start to think about kind of post-COVID strategy. Two, there were projects they were going to do, and now they've decided, well, let's do them.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the cloud, it's obviously something that Westcoast has invested in heavily. What are the key kind of technologies that you're seeing kind of coming out of that? We know the main brand names, but what do you see end users using primarily?
Well, in terms of our investment in cloud, so we have a business, Westcoast Cloud,
Yeah.
and they don't deliver anything physical to anybody.
Yeah.
So that has the usual suspects, from Office 365 to backup to everything that a business might need that they may not want a physical infrastructure for.
Yeah.
And that business is doing really, really well.
Yeah.
A huge wave of businesses jumping on the whole collaboration piece, migrating to Office 365. Just the acceleration has just been phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I think right now, because of COVID, the COVID impact is more around the collaboration technologies. I mean, they sell a whole range of other things, from like backup as a service through their data barracks partner. And that's something we are moving towards as well. But right now, it's all about collaboration. It's all about.
Do you see Office? I just talked about kind of PCs, printers, that sort of stuff. Do you see the industry continuing to kind of move away from that now? Is that something you're seeing kind of dropping off towards more kind of
away from what? Sorry.
For instance, printers is obviously a kind of key part of the West Coast business, and that's something that, if you think about less office, space, or less paper being used, I guess you see that people moving away from that quite a lot.
Well, I don't know. People have been saying the death of the paperless office for a long time, and that printers won't be needed. But we're seeing some amazing technology with large format printing, for events and sports grounds and things like that. And some of these printers are the size of a room, and they will print just some amazing detailed imagery that you can plaster everywhere. And also a huge increase in the number of printers for home use, because people are
exactly
at home. And I can tell you now, printer cartridges are rarer than hen's teeth right now. You can't get them. As soon as we've sold so many printer cartridges since lockdown. It's just been phenomenal. So the death of the printer, the printed page, and printers, I can't see that happening for a very long time.
And I guess as a leader, that's the sort of thing you have to prepare for, isn't it? You know, all this talk about new technologies and innovative things that are going to go, but in the end, you need to keep working with your customer base, don't you? You can't just switch off and say, we're not going to do this anymore.
No, you can't. You're always led by the customer, aren't you? You're always led by demand. You're always, trying to, see what innovations your vendors are coming to market with. And remember, that's our job to, educate the end users to what's coming and try and find the fit. But yeah, we're always led by the end customer, what they're looking for, and all the, innovations that are coming down from our vendors. So yeah.
So two subjects I wanted to kind of pick up on you just from what we've spoken about. The first, obviously, is this kind of cyber security side, and you've talked a lot about keeping the business safe.
Yeah.
Do you think, as a leader, that's something that you've become more aware of, or you said you had this risk plan when you first came in terms of disaster recovery, or do you think it's something that's become more of an importance in the last few years?
Well, there was no formal cybersecurity operation in Westcoast, and you know, when I took over the role, I thought, right, what are the things I can get fired for? That's literally how I approached the job.
Yeah.
And one of them was, you know, a hack or a breach or some malware or whatever. So I think the team at the time did their best. But I really wanted to formalize that area and make it a discipline within our business. And now we have three dedicated cybersecurity professionals, and you know, they work with the infrastructure team, and they work with the software team, the applications team, and also with the business. They're responsible for our compliance as well. So they are very busy, and interestingly enough, our customers are now really switched on to the whole cybersecurity. So we do a lot of tenders, and there's a huge section in there that is around cybersecurity and
data and
doing and data protection and all that kind of stuff. And you know, where it was a tick box exercise, you know, for these customers a few years ago, they are taking it really seriously, and we're able to sort of, you know, have our cybersecurity team, you know, not only keep the internal business safe, but also protect the business from itself in terms of saying, over committing to perhaps what a technology or a way of working that we don't have.
It is interesting. I think with GDPR as well, that's kind of, you know, it's a different element, but obviously it's all about kind of protecting that data and what you have kind of internally. Is that something comes within your remit as well, GDPR?
Yeah, so that whole cybersecurity function, information security is all compliance, ISO, and you know, at the actual, you know, are we patched? Do we have the correct insight as to what's going on our network? And it is a difficult gig. It really is. And so
it's funny when you speak to IT people, how many hacks and how much people try, isn't it? You know, you can see it personally, you don't see it so much for yourself, but it's happening all the time, isn't it?
All the time. And we invest quite a lot in our users. So you know, we try and test our users every now and again to see, you know, if they're susceptible to phishing. And we benchmark and that sort of thing. I mean, some of the attempts we've had, I've seen it gone from, you know, an obvious email from a obvious, you know, charlatan trying to try it on because the English is bad, or that they've misspelt the names, or the email address just looks obviously dodgy, to some really highly sophisticated targeted phishing campaigns. They are absolutely incredible. And
I had my chairman the other day. It wasn't. We joked, said it wasn't. I knew it wasn't from him because he asked me how I was. But other than that, it was pretty good. I was like, no, he never asked you how I am. I always spoke to him a minute ago. But he was, you know, and it was, you know, it came through, and there was certain elements that you could read and see it wasn't right, but there was other elements when they were just really talking about a project or something. But then you kind of looked into it and you saw the route wasn't right. But some very clever elements out there.
The scary part of where this whole thing is going is using deepfake technology to impersonate the voice of, for example, your boss. So they only need to sort of get a recorded sample of somebody's voice, and then be able to make that say whatever they wanted to say in real time while that person is on the other end. So detecting that sort of attempt or hack attempt or breach attempt is is going to require new technologies and some new skills and some new awareness.
Yeah.
So
it's important, isn't it? Because I believe that most of the breaches come at user level, don't they? So it's important to get that training right. I mean, you could have all your systems set up perfectly, but the user is going to be the one that you can't rely on.
it's definitely ground zero, 100%.
Yeah. And we talk about GDPR, and the other thing I was just interested in is we're kind of running an international systems business. It's something that hasn't really been spoken about too much, but it's going to, rear its ugly head towards the end of the year. How are you guys prepared for Brexit and what's going to come there? Do you see that as a problem for a European-wide business like yours and actually like ours, to be honest?
So like any other business, we've got a Brexit committee, so we're prepared, but we're seeing it as an opportunity. And it's like the chairman said to me, Joe Hamani, when just after the referendum result, he said, Karl, the UK may be leaving Europe, but West Coast isn't. So, we see it as an opportunity, and we're ready for it. We'll adapt. That's the kind of business we are. That's what we will do. We'll get on with it.
And I think that's the sort of business you need to be kind of going forward. That's what we've found, and from speaking to other leaders, it's about adapting. It's about keeping your core beliefs, but moving forward in a new way. So it sounds like you and the board are really up to speed on that at Westcoast. It must be quite an exciting time then,
Yeah, you have to lots of things going on, lots of opportunity. We're moving into new areas of business. 3PL we're moving into. We're formalizing that. We've offered that for a while. Potentially 4PL. So we just see opportunity out there, and this COVID situation, if you like, is just, it's a bit like Thanos from Marvel Endgame, the bad guy, where he said chaos is an opportunity.
Yeah, that's right.
He was a bad guy, to be fair.
Have a good recession, isn't it? So
yeah, but just all the innovation that you can see all around you happening. From the NHS really fascinates me, just how much they've had to adapt their workflows just to sort of keep the country safe. And I think you'll see more adoption of collaboration workflows and digital technology to help them do that. And you can imagine it might have taken COVID to get that to happen. So chaos is an opportunity, I think.
I think that's small. If you look at the football, with the crowd overlay. I don't know if you've watched it, but they've got the crowd overlay, and that's an amazing piece of technology, isn't it? I think it's developed by EA, and I was thinking about it the other day. How do they know when the kind of the ball, and they know when to make the crowd get excited or whatever? That's one example of this new technology innovations, if you know what I mean. So
it just accelerates everything so quickly. The other thing I thought about was the big issue. That for the last 2 years I've always walked by the big issue seller, and I think, well, I don't have any cash, mate. I can't. Why don't you guys get the contactless? And just this week they've announced it. They're gonna get contactless, but COVID seemed to have pushed them in that direction.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? You do charity, that sort of thing. People aren't carrying cash anymore now, are they? So you have to adapt, and I think that's the key watchword out of this, Karl.
Exactly.
Well, Karl, it's been great to speak to you. Thank you very much for your time, and I wish you a good week. And we're fellow cyclists, aren't we? So I hear you're preparing for a big cycle ride. So good luck. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care. Cheers.